Thank you for that kind introduction, and I'm really happy and honored to be among you today, especially looking at all the young researchers. I can't help to say, but I'm feeling very envious. I wish I am with you right now, sitting with you over there. Let me tell you one secret that I rarely tell anyone, that it is actually my deepest desire to stay a student my whole life. Studying is fun for me, as I think it's fun to a lot of people here. And if it were up to me and not my parents, I will continue being in high school and just learn as I can, read my books, and yeah, doing research what you're doing. And that's why I enjoy going to school. And again, thank you for SPH for inviting me to me walking through the gates to the school. It feels like it's coming home. So, but yeah, I'm here because I guess I am the representative of, can I say, the business industry side. If you have heard the excellent presentation from Arthur, yeah, who represents the research entity, and then the governmental side is super important. Obviously, school, SPH and UPH is very extremely important for our country. Maybe I can do a bit of my share and bring up the perspective from the business side. I titled my quick sharing today, Digital Age of Disruption, right? What is the crucial role of cross-learning between business, where I'm in, and academia, right? Because like I said, when I was growing up, I guess maybe because of my parents or my environment, it felt like I have to choose between two very good choices. Do I want to stay in academia, do research, study, talk with my professors, collaborate with my peers, write a lot of publications, focus on science, focus on deepening the knowledge of the world, right, that can contribute to the advancement of human knowledge. It's a very awesome endeavor. Or I have to choose, do I want to go to industry? Do I want to benefit the customers, right? Create new products and services that can be enjoyed by a lot of people. But it felt like at that time I have to choose one or the other, right? Well, I'm happy to share that, well, first I'll have to share a bad news, but then I'm going to end with a better news. And the first bad news was, there is this thing called creative disruption that is going on in the industry. It's been going on for a while now. We have seen an acceleration of this, as Dr. Eden mentioned earlier, because the past 2 years we've been living and trying to cope with pandemic, right? This is a very real threat for us in the business community. We are charged by the stakeholders to protect their investments and to grow their business. And yet, all these challenges are happening around us. Now, this slide, there's a lot of numbers here, but basically the one key point I want to draw to you is that more and more businesses realize that they cannot just do the same thing over and over again and expecting that they're going to stay on top. There is this list called the S&P 500. It's basically simply a list of most successful, largest companies in America. And when this list was started, quite a long time back, you can expect that if you as a business made it to this S&P 500 list, you are already there. You can expect that you will remain there. I'm talking about large, very admired companies such as IBM, right, Coke, GE, and many others. Now, they can be confident that they find the secret formula of business, and all they need to do is just to keep on doing what they're good at, right? And just keeping their processes, keep their recipe, and do not lose it. That's why, if you know, Coke tastes the same today as it was 100 years ago, right? They don't want to change that. In fact, if many of you know, they tried to be innovative with Coke. They tried to create something called the New Coke. And guess what? Everybody hated it, right? Everybody asked, no, I don't want you to be creative. I want you to go back and give me my old Coke, please. Right? So there's this idea about business in the old way was, if you find a secret recipe, keep it, keep on doing it. Don't even try to experiment, right? And this is where the difference that I was mentioning earlier between the business, the old way of business thinking, to the creativity and the innovation that comes out from schools and research centers. But I'm here to share the bad news, at least for the business community, that we cannot anymore think that it's enough for us to just keep and look at our past successes, right? Because of this, 75% of that S&P 500 list are expected to be replaced by newer, more agile, more dynamic, more innovative, more creative companies, right? By 2027. This is a real threat for the more established companies. And I will not dwell too much here, but part of the reason is because of this wave called the Industrial Revolution. And I have to say that you, part of the academic community, are probably one of the main culprits of this wave of disruption, right? Because through your findings in your schools, in your universities, and innovation and technologies such as STEM engine, chemistry, communication, computing, automation, the internet, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, quantum computing, and so on and so forth. Those are the triggers, those are the things that create waves of disruption across businesses, right? So there's always the bad news at the beginning because people need to reinvent themselves. But at the end, I will say so far we have seen that overall the world has benefited from what you have produced in your research institutions. So we have you to thank for that, right? Now, I want to call out your attention to, if you notice, the gap between the industrial revolutions that has gone prior to us. There's been 4 that has been identified, and we know that's not going to be the end. There's going to be the 5th one. There's probably going to be the 6th one. But if you notice, if you look at the interval between this, right, do you notice something? It has been getting shorter and shorter, right? It's the investments that companies made to capitalize from the findings from the research community in a particular era does not pay off as much. Companies cannot sit and be comfortable. They need to really connect more with the research community and really understand what you guys are finding, right, in your through your publications, through exhibitions such as this one, right? We want to come here and we want to learn from you because this is the way for us to stay ahead of the curve and not be left behind. Now, a little bit about my perspective or what I learned from Amazon in terms of why we feel are the key characteristics of the current digital disruption, right? And this might be something that hopefully can trigger some ideas for us to collaborate after that, right? Currently, we believe that the characteristics that identify the current era of digital disruption can be summarized by 3 things. The first one, we see an explosion of data, right? Data that has been produced in the past year far exceeds the combined amount of data that's been produced in the past 50 years before that, right? And this is because the number of humans that inhabit this earth and then the amount of gadgets and devices they own, there's a multiplication factor there, right? Now we are seeing billions of humans owning even more of devices, and this creates, each of these devices create data every single second, right? That's one key characteristic. The second one is how more and more people understand that data by itself is really just confusing noise almost. You need to put context to that. You need to really arrange it around some central idea and some central data point. And more what us in business, it's like Amazon strives to be the earth's most customer-centric company. I think many business players agrees with this also and understands that putting the customer first in front of us and really try to work for them and create for products and services for the customers is the way towards innovation that is used. So this is the second characteristic. And the third one is how much that sometimes people say that we are in the instant generation, right? Everything is instant, everything needs to be real time. No longer customers are willing to wait for a whole week for their application to be processed, right? If you apply for a loan to a bank, now the expectation is, if I apply now, I want to know now. Do I get the loan or not? Can I take the money home now or not? Right? So this is something that is the three different trends that we're seeing. So this is kind of like a summary of what I just said earlier. Basically, we realize that, at least some of us, selflessly, I hope that not that many businesses realize that you cannot be doing things the old way. I say selflessly because then we have less competition. When more and more people do not realize that we need to learn from the academic world. That no longer it's okay to just use the old recipe. That it's okay to just stand still and don't change anything, right? More and more, the more innovative companies actually say things that sound a lot like your professor are saying. Just like Pa Alfred earlier said, right? Hey, experimentation is the way to innovation, right? And then yes, experimentation means taking a risk and sometimes experiencing failure because of that. However, do not let that discourage you. Just like Thomas Alva Edison, right? He keeps on experimenting with the material to kind of build a long-lasting bulb. He needs to fail the first 99 times until finally he discovered the right material on the 100th try or on whichever amount. So the key part for us in business is that how can we fail at the lowest cost as possible, and how can we turn that failure into learning in a very short amount as possible. If we know this experimentation is failing, we want to know it first earlier. And then we need to learn from the failure, right? Do not waste a good failure. And then lastly, this emphasis on continuing to innovate. Companies like Apple, who was earlier known as a computer company, they actually reinvent themselves. They innovate because then they start producing iPod, right? And even some years later, they actually reinvent themselves again, right? And then they produce a phone. This is something that they had never done before. They did not have a recipe for this, but that didn't stop them, right? So basically, that's kind of a parallel that I see between the industry and the academy. I think we are in the era where no longer people have to choose that if I want to be innovative, if I want to experiment, I need to stay in school or in university. Or vice versa. If I want to impact the world, I want to really build great products that billions of people can use, I need to be in the industry. I think now there is this closer interconnection between business community and the academic community, and we should do more of this collaboration. We need to talk more, we need to exchange ideas through speeches like this one, right? Learn from each other and see what kind of things we can collaborate and build together for the whole purpose of making our communities better, right? Blessing people around us and creating products and services that really can benefit the world as a whole. So with that, again, I thank you so much. I really, really appreciate being able to be here, and I really look forward to visit every one of the exhibition booths and learn a lot from you, and maybe at some point we can make the new iPod or make the next iPhone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bapak Johan, for your remarks.